Welcome to NewDay Saturday edition, your factual, propaganda-free Saturday morning news analysis show right here on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7 and streaming live on the internet at 3news.com, also on GhanaWeb.com and on our Facebook page, TV3 News. As usual, the time is fixed. We're running from now till 9:50, where conversations will be brought to a close on the show. We also encourage you, as usual, to send in your messages, contributions, comments, and whatever it is you have to share in respect of topics lined up for discussion to our WhatsApp line 050-060-7070. This week on the show, what are we looking at? Quite an interesting week, a number of things happening. We will start off the conversation with the vetting of Justice Sophia Ekufu, the CJ nominee. This week, indeed yesterday, the Appointment Committee of Parliament, assisted by two standing committees of Parliament, that is the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee and the Judicial Committee, vetted the Chief Justice nominee, Justice Sophia Ekufu, for over a period of about 5 hours. That was quite grueling, but quite exciting to listen to as well. Now, during the vetting, various issues came up through questions asked by the members of the committee, as well as through the responses the nominee gave. And on the show this morning, we will be looking at some of those issues that came up. And of course, we'll also look at the general assessment of the committee and indeed the nominee herself. We'll also turn our attention to the Youth Employment Agency, YEA, and try to understand what exactly it is about that entity, the establishment called the Youth Employment Agency, that makes it embroiled in scandals. Now, you do recall that it started its life as the National Youth Employment Program, NYEP. Then, after a change of government in the year 2009, it metamorphosed into JIDA. Then came the humongous JIDA scandal, which, among other things, perhaps led to the necessitation of a change of name to what we have currently, which is the Youth Employment Agency, YEA, obviously with the hope of banishing all traces of the JIDA scandal. But it appears some controversy may very well be looming, and which may very well suggest that the objective of banishing corruption and malfeasance in that or from that entity may not have been achieved after all. The YEA, which is a newborn baby of the former NYEP, JIDA, is in the news again. And what is it about this time? Well, the new management alleges a payroll fraud under the previous administration, which is now in opposition. And so the minority in Parliament, which is a section of the opposition, held a press conference during the week and contended that the alleged payroll fraud under the erstwhile government is questionable because, among other things, they contend that a computerized system that they put in place cannot be manipulated for fraudulent activities. And so the allegations being made by the new management cannot be true, and that same should be disregarded. We shall be looking at the allegations and the responses so far, and also, perhaps even more importantly, take a look at the entity itself and determine whether or not we are actually on the right course with the agenda to empower the youth of this country, or whether we are even getting the best of returns from the investment we are making into the YEA. Also up for discussion this morning is the ongoing developments involving the University of Education, Winneba. The question is injunction or no injunction, but of course this week, on Friday, the High Court in Winneba brought that confusion to an end. The court clarified that it made no order for interlocutory injunction to restrain the principal officers of the university from working until Friday the 16th, which was yesterday. Now, you will recall that earlier the registrar of the university, who claimed that he was under the impression that there was an injunction order by the court, directed the university in Winneba and its various campuses across the country to shut down pending the determination of the matter in court. You will also recall that this whole confusion, or this whole incident, is coming against the backdrop of a suit by a private citizen against the university and the education ministry for what the plaintiff in that case is saying was an unlawful extension of the school's governing council's tenure. So we'll be looking at exactly what is happening on the campuses of the University of Education, Winneba, to see what we can make out of that. And lastly, we'll be looking at this ruckus about appointments and the interference of appointments to public office. We'll be looking at the Tamale Teaching Hospital scenario, where the outgoing CEO insisted during the week that he wasn't leaving until he cited or he was given a formal letter from the ministry suggesting that his appointment had been terminated. We'll be looking at that development. Also tying into that conversation will be the Savelugu Nanton MCE saga, where Hajia Asiedu-Dartey, after securing an overwhelming approval from the Assembly, was prevented for a number of weeks from taking up her office as the MCE to carry out her mandate. We'll be asking questions about this and why we seem not to be bringing this development to an end. We'll take a break at this point. When we come back, I will introduce to you the panel and the conversations will begin. Stick and stay with us. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to New Day Saturday edition on TV3, also on 3FM 92.7, and on our websites and internet pages, which is TV3 News on Facebook, also on GhanaWeb.com and 3news.com. Quickly introduce the panel for today's discussions. From my far left, we have the Honorable Obi Amwa. He is the NPP MP for Ekwapem South constituency. He's also the Deputy Minister, Local Government and Rural Development. The next is Mr. Joe Jackson. He is the Director of Operations at Daylex Finance, and he is a political commentator and analyst. Dr. Ahmed Jnapo is next. He is the Head of Childhood Education at the University of Education, Winneba, and he's going to spill out exactly what's happening on the campus this morning. Last but not least is the Honorable Dr. Clement Apak. He is NDC MP for Bulsa South constituency. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
It's very good to have you here. We'll start off with the vetting of the CJ nominee, but we'll take a piece of what happened yesterday, and then we'll come right into the conversations here. So let's just take a look at what happened.
Said quality justice. Effectiveness is also one of the characteristics of quality justice, because it covers the assurance that the public has that, one, when they come to the Hall of Justice, they will receive access. I will definitely make sure that I will do it. I will initiate those that need to be initiated, those that are already in place, that they will be made to work effectively.
On mob justice, the nominee indicated it often results from delay in case management and hoped the quality judicial delivery that she would preside over would stop mob justice.
Mob justice, because it's based on misunderstanding of processes. It could be because they didn't understand why the person was freed, or there's a perception that what's the point of reporting to the police? What's the point of going to court about this matter? We of the judiciary will do our optimal to ensure that if we are not the cause of the mob justice.
The 60.
So that was just a little piece of what happened yesterday, because indeed it was about 5 hours of intense, back and forth from the between the committee and the CJ nominee. I will start with, luckily enough we have two members of parliament here, but let me start with Honorable Obi Amwa, who was on the committee and did put some questions to the CJ nominee. Quickly, Honorable, this wasn't the usual vetting committee, was it? We saw some different faces there. If you could tell us exactly what that was, what informed that, and then let's have your general, views about exactly what happened.
Good morning, and good morning to my brothers here and to viewers and listeners. This was the appointments committee. The only difference is that we invited the chair and the ranking of Judiciary Committee and the Constitution and Legal Committee to join us. So we ended up with 4 more for the Appointments Committee. But for other members of Parliament, they were entitled to sit there. And if they even wanted to ask a question, the chair could grant that. The format was a bit different in the sense that we had agreed before the meeting that any member who wanted to ask questions was entitled to 20 minutes. Okay. So within 20 minutes, the question and answer should end.
So that accounted for the long hours? This
was a bit different from the previous committee sittings where the chairman allowed only 3 questions. But of course, depending on the response from the nominee, it could stretch beyond maybe the 3 questions. But we agreed that for this particular one, we should adopt this format of allowing members to ask questions, and responses should be, the questions and responses should be
within 20 minutes.
Within 20 minutes. And that's what happened.
Right.
And for the nominee, she did very well, because even some of us were quite tired, sitting from 10:30 to about 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. It was quite grueling, but very useful, because the whole world was watching, and they wanted to know our next Chief Justice. And I think she acquitted herself creditably.
Very well. Let me move to Mr. Jackson briefly. Your thoughts on the process? Anything in particular you think is worth highlighting briefly?
Actually, she did well. I must admit that. Well, those of us who've been following her career expected her to do well. So it was not. We can't say she did well, and it came as a surprise. But still, she performed very creditably. Of course, you may disagree with some opinion she expressed here and there, but that did not detract from the whole process. I must say that the whole country and Parliament particularly must be congratulated for acquitting itself fairly well, considering all the challenges we've had with the vetting processes in the past, and all the allegations and counter allegations and so on and so forth. This I think raised the bar for Parliament, and I think as a nation we should be happy about what happened.
Right. And do you think it's because of, Honorable explained that there were some representations from certain committees? If I would want to refer to those committees as perhaps subject area relevant committees, is that perhaps why we saw what we did?
No, I don't think so. I think we had a good candidate, and there was, first of all, I think there was a lot of respect from the panelists as to who they were speaking to, and how knowledgeable she was. So when you have a good candidate, you have respect, and you put away the partisanship that sometimes goes along with this. You just get a process that comes out right, and that should make all of us proud.
Right. So then, Honorable Dr. Park, it's a question of who you have before you as a committee, and the kind of quality that the person brings to bear is what translates into success of a vetting.
Well, to some extent, of course. Let me say good morning to viewers, and to greet my people in Bulsa South.
Yes, I need to learn that.
Yes, you have to. When you say Solu, then you say Solu Nam.
Okay.
Good.
Right,
yes. Ovi,
so
what is your problem? You greeted your constituents.
Have I said anything?
By the way, he's closer to home, so it's much easier.
Okay.
In any case, the point I'm trying to make is that I agree with Mr. Jackson to some extent. Indeed, if you have a candidate certainly worth his or her salt, and you have a committee that is also well prepared, you would expect that the processes would be admirable. And I think that whilst we can quibble about some of the responses and whether we're satisfied
go into next
or not is another issue. But I think that we must also give Parliament credit, because what we saw yesterday, as you said, is a departure from the way it has always been done, which means that we are also being innovative in looking at the way we've done things in the past, and trying to see how best we can add to that and augment it. And I think that it has turned out to be a very positive move. And if you notice, not just the bringing in of the ranking members and deputy ranking members and chairs of the other ancillary committees that have a role to play in terms of our justice delivery system. But even the arrangement in terms of allotting every member specific time. And this, I think, is a derivation from the US system, which we all think that if we can adopt that and incorporate it into ours, certainly is going to be useful. And I think those of us who have been advocating for that in the background, we've been borne out. And indeed, it is not just this appointments committee. At the Public Accounts Committee, of which I'm a member, we've also been having a similar conversation about trying to make sure that every member of the committee is giving his allotted time so that you can exhaust your questions in a way that would provide a proper context for the auditees to respond. So it's a good innovation, but we must also grant Parliament some credit
as well.
for taking some initiative.
That initiative very well, raising the bar in terms of our vetting process, which I was pretty much excited about that. But let me come to Dr. Ahmed here. Let's have your general thoughts, and then we'll start off looking at the specific issues that came up.
Well, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers, and I must admit
and your constituency members.
No, I don't have.
No, probably say
my probably is UEW. But
his younger brother will not allow him.
I never had the opportunity to watch the vetting, but I read most of the commentary and I listened to it on the news. And if you ask me, number one, I think it's only the Chief Justice who is vetted by Parliament within the Judiciary. Is that right? No. Is that right? Or no? No. Other two are by Parliament. Yes. Okay. And of course, whether they are vetted or not, the position of the Chief Justice is the highest, and it attracts a lot of attention. And I, in a way, agree with Mr. Jackson that when it comes to her stature within the law, I wasn't expecting any kind of question that she wouldn't have been able to answer. But I think the position of the Chief Justice, especially within our contemporary political history, is one that is of relevance in terms of our developmental aspirations. If you remember, you take Justice Georgina Wood, she made mention to the effect that at a point in time she wanted to resign from that position because of the accusation of corruption. Accusation of corruption. And whether you like it or not, that accusation is hinged on some kind of perception, of course. So I'm interested in questions that will center on the character of the individual. Who is Sophia Akuffo? If you talk about Sophia Akuffo in terms of pedigree within the spectrum of law, I mean, you can't doubt it. But who is she? Is she somebody that she's vindictive? Is she somebody who can bring people together? Is she somebody that at the end of the day she's not corrupt? She's never been corrupted? And is she somebody who more or less is against corruption? That is the kind of person and questions that I was interested to hear. I don't know if most of the questions linger around. So you're looking at
issues about the character, not
the
just
person.
the competence in terms of the subject area.
Her ability to withstand pressure. Because you're talking of what? An administrative position and what? A legal position. And that is why I always say that, look, at the end of the day, it looks as if our interest and emphasis have been on whether that lady is a legal luminary. It's not questionable. But her position is also somebody who's going to be an administrator. That is why, if you listen to some of her comments, she says she wants to bring quality. How is she going to do that?
So on that note, let me quickly ask you, you quickly tell me this. Within the context of the vetting committee's work, what was the scope for that, possibility of eliciting that kind of judgment in terms of the character? What scope is there?
Yeah, and that is why I say that, look, I'm posing these questions because that is what I'm interested in. We are talking of a panel of 26 members. And my argument is that the discourse has always been overly centered on her competence in terms of the area of the legality. But I think that is something that, with the greatest of respect, she can't miss it. But we are looking at somebody who is, in fact, her position as a Chief Justice mostly is an administrative position. It's a leadership position. What is a leadership competence? I mean, what has she done? And of course, I mean, even within that, you can give her credit because she happens to be the vice president of African something court. You understand? If probably she didn't have those capabilities, she wouldn't have been there. And beyond that, I mean, what is her stance when it comes to what? Corruption. You remember the Anas issue? The truth of the matter is that today in this country, as it stands, the security apparatus, which the legal distance is included, does not have the confidence of the people when it comes to being able to what? To fight and withstand corruption. How is she able to what? To deal with it, and what is she going to do to address it? Those are some of the important things that I thought we should have been looking at.
Good. I would move on to Honorable Obiama, just where you left off, touching on the perception of corruption and all of that. Honorable, she did talk about that indeed. It was a question put to her, and she did talk about that. And I think what she said in respect of that was that the fact of judicial independence really borders on finances at the end of the day. She did say something to that effect. And for me, the question then comes about how...
This June,
Abuelo, on y va. Aïe aïe aïe, ça c'est la voix de SK original. Il n'y a pas original.
Let's go harder, but heaven on Quatate, Senima, and Quanibiana, you are. It's our Quanibianuma, no one was Asiedu, Afia, Mezobo Baby, oh, Yaboko Togo, and Infa, Bebiara is when I saw 12 when you're you may pay, no one super, yes, maybe I will be a Sawanada, more daddy, Satasa, and never say, Crazy Bara, hey, see,
It's the Bun starts showing on Sunday, 25th June, right here on TV3.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. This is New Day Saturday edition. Sorry about that brief blip. It was due to some technical challenges here, but like I said earlier, the show must go on. So back to Honorable Obiama.
Yes.
Where my question out, yes.
Thank you.
On yes.
Thank you. The Abu was talking about.
Ahmed.
Dr. Jidapo was talking about. Dr. Jidapo was talking about whether we should rather have
focus on the character.
Character, etc. But if you look at the Constitution, indeed, under Article 1254, it says the Chief Justice shall, subject to this Constitution, be the head of the Judiciary and shall be responsible for the administration and supervision of the Judiciary. So we asked questions on how she was going to run the Judiciary as required under the Constitution. So it's an issue of just asking how, or legal questions without bringing her administrative acumen and issues bordering on how the whole system runs. So we did justice to that, and I'll come to that when. On independence, Article 127 talks about independence of the judiciary. And then independence is not only on financial administration. It talks about, in the exercise of the judicial power of Ghana, the judiciary in both its judicial and administrative functions, including financial administration, is subject only to this Constitution. So it is all its functions. And the point she was making was that we could be more independent if we had more resources.
Right.
Some aspects we had to be curtailed just because we didn't have enough funding, which is normal because nobody has limited funding. But if we will go back to the whole process, I started by even wanting to know exactly when she was appointed, because we wanted it for the records. If you read the law reports, it says 30th November 1995. And yesterday on her CV, she had also put the 30th November 1995. But I had to draw the attention of the House to the fact that if you go to the Hansard,
The Hansard said something else.
the Hansard said 15 December, they were approved by Parliament. 4 justices were approved by Parliament on 15 December 1995. So it couldn't have been 30th November. So she said she would submit her scroll of appointment for us to be sure of exactly when she was appointed. Right. And I was also interested in legal access to the law. Access to the law, not for the ordinary person. Indeed, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. But if you don't also let the person know the law, it's also fundamentally wrong. But for the judiciary itself, because the challenge we have is that if somebody sits at the High Court in Bolga, is a person abreast with the law, abreast in the sense that all the laws we pass in Parliament, do they have access to those laws? We have a situation where when you go to the Assembly Press, they only print hard copy. There's no electronic version of what they do. So that if I sit in Bolga High Court, how do I have access to the law which has been passed? And I made particular reference to CI 78, where somebody took the EC to court for the conduct of the district assembly elections, that indeed Parliament had not passed the CI, but the EC had opened nominations.
When it was passed.
In court, the Supreme Court said that a certain law didn't exist. But indeed the law existed.
Was, right.
So I drew attention to the fact that how is she going to ensure
that gap?
Yes,
right.
For the judiciary, they also have access to the law so that they don't make judgments which will be at variance with what exists. Then others asked about, I also asked about recruitment onto the bench. If you are talking about competence,
quality,
corruption,
justice,
independence, partisanship, it starts with recruitment onto the bench. It's not anybody who can be on the bench. In the sense that there should be, or there is criteria to be able to recruit somebody onto the bench. How is she going to enhance this whole process with the Judicial Council and also sustain what is required, that the person should be competent, the person should not be corrupt, the person should have some independence, the person should not be partisan, all those things. So she also brought out those things.
Great. So that goes to the issue about the shielding of the judiciary, which, I mean, was another area that she touched on. But still on the finances, I want us to look at it somewhere. I'll come to Honorable Apak here, given that you are a member of Parliament as well, where the issue about the IGF generated by the judiciary is an issue. A certain percent, I mean, at the end of the day, it will go into the consolidated fund, and then a percentage is now returned to the judicial service for their work. I think that is a bit problematic, isn't it? That how do you sustain the work of the judiciary if you're talking about independence, being able to do things proactively and all of that? You generate funds, it goes in, and a certain percentage is returned to you.
Well, first of all, I will have a few more things to say.
Very well, but
observe from far. But with the specific question that you have posed, it is standard practice, as far as I know. Obi Amwa has been in Parliament much longer than myself. You can correct me, but as far as I know, it is the same with every one of our state institutions. I don't know of any institution that is allowed to keep 100% of its IGF. So if indeed there is the need for certain specific institutions to be looked at by virtue of their special role and responsibilities, and the need, as you say, for us to insulate them against influences, be they as a result of the lack of adequate financial resources to run their operations, or even the influence peddlers who would try to broker some financial inflows as a basis of gaining leverage, we should look at it. I think that ours is a society that is progressing, I want to believe, and from time to time, I think it is always proper that we re-examine the way we do things, and if it is justified for us to take some actions, perhaps even amend some laws, or if you like, amend portions of the Constitution itself, which I think is going to be coming under review very soon. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But you see, I know Obi will say I'm doing politics with this, but if you look at this year's budget, in fact, rather a lot of entities are losing their IGF to central government. So I'm wondering how we
would you say the standard practice?
We can manage that. But if you have institutions like universities and even psychiatric hospitals taking their IGF from them, I wonder how we can make the case for the judicial service to keep its IGF.
Very well. You said you had some other issues you'd want to briefly.
Yes, I was looking at Article 128, I believe 4. And I just wanted to quote that in connection with what Dr. Jinako was trying to elicit. Yes. He says that a person shall not be qualified for appointment as a justice of the Supreme Court unless he is of high moral character and proven integrity and is of not less than 15 years standing as a lawyer. At least we know that she's been on the bench already. So I would assume that she definitely has passed this particular requirement of the Constitution. But what people have asked is, what is the definition of high moral character? You know, we can quibble about that. But I just wanted to say that by virtue of the fact that she was on the bench and now has been elevated to be the Chief Justice, she certainly satisfies this. But you see, there was a question that I was very interested in, which I had hoped that perhaps she would have answered in a lot more detail. You know, our current laws make attempted suicide criminal. If you attempt suicide, it is a criminal offense. And in the past few months, past few years, we've seen the rise of suicides, and a lot of them seem to be related to mental health issues. I did a statement on the floor of Parliament not quite long ago, trying to draw attention to the challenges in that sector. So I would have thought that perhaps she would have proffered
you see, but it's interesting you're raising the point. You see, consistently when issues about amendments, reforms come up, she would say, well, this is the legislative arm of government. Your job is pretty much cut out for you, so do what it is you have to do. I mean, really, she...
No, but asking her opinion about
so
what she feels about decriminalizing attempted suicide.
There are two things.
Yes, Honorable, just a minute to... Yes, and then you
should have been able to say, you know, I think that it is time that we look at amending the law. But I mean, why should we try to punish people who obviously are trying to take their own lives because they have an illness? You know, I want to hear something about that.
Advocate.
I think it's
yes, Mr. Jackson.
But the Chief Justice is also an advocate. If something is going on in society that is not right,
she's not an advocate.
She's able to advocate.
Yes, let's hear from...
Be careful she doesn't bring her opinion.
Because she's likely to be faced with a case of similar... Yes.
I support gay rights. And as the gay rights is in court...
Before you, and then yes. So, Mr. Jackson.
Why would that be?
Yes, because she has expressed her opinion already. That this is what I think.
But so this is the problem.
She goes by the law.
This is the problem. And part of the critique in the public space now is that she was very evasive on a number of the questions. And this is one of them.
But Dr. Park,
but that's what I wanted to make a statement about. That listen, if she comes out and she says that I favor same-sex marriage, in my opinion, what has she said? What has she done? It means that there's possibly an issue that will come before her, which she has
already made it known what her position is.
She's given us a bias. Your role is to get those laws passed in court. In Parliament, sorry. In Parliament. Her role is to interpret it and make sure it's applied.
Well, very well. But I would wish.
Okay, so that was your opinion, which is fine. Yes.
But I wanted to say something.
But Mr. Jackson, I think you were landing or you're done.
Yes, what I'm saying is that I really would have been interested in hearing her opinion, but of course, you know, my colleagues, they disagree, and they have the right to their opinion.
Exactly.
But be as it may, I think that on some of the questions, it was felt that she was evasive.
Okay.
Probably for good reason.
Sure.
But I would have wished that at least
she would have been more. Okay. Now, Mr. Jackson, let me hear you. Yes.
What I wanted to say is one of the things that struck me was this issue of IGF. That you see, IGF is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it is we would like to see more independence, but I'm not sure whether IGF should be the route to go, because the danger in going the IGF route is that you see a ratcheting up of fees and charges in order to bring in enough revenue for this said independence. Then we get to the point where the ordinary man who goes to court with an issue starts to find that the fees and the charges are above what they can afford. So with respect to this IGF issue, which is the internally generated funds, we should have a balance between fees and charges that make sense and will remove...
Isn't it the case then that, I mean, I get what you're saying, but here's a case that you don't get to retain the 100%. So then perhaps there's a need for you to up the rate so that if it's just 30% that is returned to you, you still have something substantial, as opposed to being allowed to retain the 100% and then your rates are quite reasonable.
But you see, the issue is this. You can't be given 100% because the facilities that you use to generate the IGF don't belong to you. Right, the court, your salaries, etc., they come from the common fund. So if through the consolidated fund, so if through that process funds are generated, they should go back there. And that's the argument. That's why you're not given 100%. And I'm saying let's be careful about all this issue about IGF, because all that then happens is that the
it makes access to justice quite expensive.
They inch up and they become expensive. And we should make sure that all these fees are affordable by even the ordinary Ghanaian.
Right. Okay, so maybe not necessarily 100%, but at least an upscaling of. I know that, yeah.
The point you brought is very relevant, because last year, when the Chief Justice brought to Parliament scale of the fees,
it was quite
the
high.
same bar,
sure,
which complained that if you do that, our clients cannot pay, then how are we going to represent them in court? So the point he's making is very relevant.
Definitely.
Because you allow it, the judiciary can decide that we're charging this much, because we want to run a place well.
So are you saying that then let's scrap IGF? Is that what I'm
saying?
No, not that. But
it's part of generating revenue.
Definitely.
It's part of generating
revenue. You keep some, you send some to the consolidated fund.
Because the desk you're sitting on, I bought it.
Right.
Your salary, I pay it. Your air conditioning, I pay for it. So if you generate some funds, and I say keep 30%, and because otherwise you get into the ridiculous situation where some of the organizations that are better placed to raise even bigger sums of money will be keeping a lot more of the money that they raise.
Sure. Let me go to Dr. Jinapo on this issue, perception of corruption and all that, because she said she wouldn't necessarily mention it, because if the perception out there is right, there's something to be done about it. If it's wrong, there's something to be done about it. So really, there is something to be done about that.
Before I answer that question, let me just say something briefly about this IGF.
IGF. You see, the IGF is so much important.
Because at the end of the day, if you listen to her ladyship, the Chief Justice nominee, the point that she was trying to make was that if we get enough money, or if our financial needs are being addressed, you see wonders, or we'll do something very significant. And I think this is very important, because if you look at her age and the period that she's going to be a Chief Justice, she's there for just probably about 2 or 3 years. You understand what I'm saying? So 2 or 3 years, if she is not very dynamic, she may not be able to leave that much of a legacy.
But the dynamism can come from other areas, not necessarily.
Yes, can come from other areas. But I think there's no entity or institution in this country, government entity, which is not clamoring for increases in IGF. I quite remember when I happened to be on the immigration board, it was one of the issues. And you know, immigration is one of the agencies that makes money. And the argument that was being made is that, look, IGF is a percentage. If you want more money, make more money. You understand what I'm saying? Make more revenue. And that is where the example that Mr. Jackson and Honorable made, relative to quality, where if you want to improve the judicial system and rake in more money, make sure what your services are good, people have trust in what the judiciary, and people are ready to assess it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it's a double-edged, it's a win-win situation. I mean, do your job well and make sure you get more money. On the issue of corruption, I think, to be honest with you, if you do any survey, whether scientific or unscientific, and you try, your participants are either politicians or whatever, relative to the perception of corruption in the judiciary, I can tell you for a fact that almost every Ghanaian believes that the judiciary is what? Is corrupt. Whether you've even assessed their services or not, that perception is what? Is there. That is a fact. So I think, and that is why I always keep on going to say that, look, the Chief Justice nominee is, I'm not trying to say that, look, nothing has been done or nothing was done under Judge Wood, but I think she has a bigger responsibility to ensure that the issue of corruption is addressed. In the sense that the announced expose in itself is something that was a killer. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's something that was a killer. Such that, I mean, where you have judges stooping so low, and unfortunately, it's not just at the top, it's at the bottom. So I think he has a lot of responsibilities, and I believe that all of us have responsibilities to help it in our own small way. Because corruption is a two-way traffic. The one who gives and the one who takes. Right. If you don't go and give the judge, he may not take. Right. But if it so happens that the two parties, nobody is prepared to bribe the judge has no option than what? To deliver justice to its fullest. So I wish her the best of luck. And listening to what the narrative says regarding her responses, I was never surprised anyway. So I wish her the best of luck, and I think she needs to understand that even though her period is short, but she can do something dramatic and something that will leave a legacy for her.
A quick one.
Okay, then I take some messages.
On the issue of judicial corruption and the perception thereof, indeed, we have come a long way, but it's still a long way to go. But it also boils down to access to justice. And I think that is perhaps where I think that she made a suggestion that she's going to embark on one district, one court.
Which is currently what it is. I mean, she said that's what pertains at the moment.
Actually it's not the case in my district. So I'm actually excited. I want to see a court. We don't have a court in Busa South. You know why he's doing that? He's a good man.
Okay.
He's a good man.
I'll take some messages.
He's pulling a joke on me.
I'll take some messages.
Yes, let's see a court in Busa South in Kumisi, because it doesn't make sense that we have to go to the neighboring district, Busa North, for cases to be adjudicated. All of these kinds of developments, they breed opportunities for acts of corruption.
So that's
well,
another
if we have
thing
a chance, I may talk about my suit against the Association of Judges and Magistrates.
Unfortunately, we don't have that
how
much
she
time
responded to that question.
I
thought she was a bit evasive.
Very well. I mean, I think, yes, but let me take some messages, then we go for a break and come back. This is, it says, this is Derico in Y. He says, good morning, Abena and your panelists. Justice Sophia Kufu will be scored 8 over 10 in her responses to questions. She was decorous and she credibly did well. She's a woman of integrity in our judicial jurisprudence, and he says, I hope she works independently, not under any duress from the executive. Aaron Babako says, our justice system must command maximum respect and order in the country. The rule of law must prevail with regard to our justice system. Our judicial system must be separate from the other organs of government. Our justice system must not involve politics and must protect and project the image of the country. Blueprint in Esikado Ketan says, there's no doubt that her ladyship, Madame Sophia Kufu, would be an extraordinary CJ, and her records and pedigree speaks for themselves, and she's competent enough to perform beyond all reasonable doubt. He says, but Abna, remember to bring a lady to your panel discussion. Okay, I'll do that. I'll try. We'll try to do that. We've done that a couple of times, though, but we'll keep it up. Good morning, Abna. I pray for the strength and courage for the new CJ to be able to deliver. For the YEA, the issues must be discussed devoid of any politics and deal with the real issues. This is Kofi Wayo in Santa Maria. Now in Achimota says, hi Abna, good morning to you and your panelists. The vetting of the Chief Justice nominee was great and very educative. She showed class and competence. Good morning, the good people of TV3. The NPP and this current administration is deliberately and consciously stealing workers' money in the name of ghost names. Ever since the Minister of Finance published the list of the so-called ghost names on the payroll, genuine workers are still struggling for their salaries as of now. That's Fecha in Hohoi. Zantani in the Tolon district says the CJ nominee, Madam Justice Sophia Kufu, was yesterday proved to Ghanaians that she's an experienced Supreme Court judge. She has performed to my admiration at the vetting. And let me take the last one here. It says, I sincerely think the woman was sharp and smart in her responses. My only disappointment with her was the decision not to support the cancellation or even a decentralization of the Ghana School of Law at Makola to cut the tedious and cumbersome processes of reading law. All in all, I think she acquitted herself so well. We'll take a break, but you know, this last message is raising the issues about the education when it comes to law, you know, and all of that. But perhaps we could touch on that briefly when we come back. We need to take a break. When we come back, we will wrap up on this and then move on to the issues about the Tamale Regional Hospital, all that is going on there around the outgoing CEO, incoming CEO, and then we'll tie that into the Savelugu MCE saga. We'll see you shortly. Stay and stay with us. Saturday edition. We're live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, and we're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com, also on GhanaWeb.com, and on our Facebook page at TV3 News. Just before the break, we're looking at the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee, Justice Sophia Ekufo, which happened yesterday, and we'll be wrapping up on that conversation and move swiftly to look at the Tamale Teaching Hospital back and forth with the outgoing CEO and the incoming CEO. Just before the break, we raised the issue about the legal education and what Madam Justice Sophia Ekufo had to say about that. Honorable Obiamwa, quickly, let me hear from you on that. The fact that the Makola School of Law.
Yes, somebody, a member asked a question whether, given the situation now, whether we should not even scrap the law school. But the nominee, the Chief Justice nominee, was very emphatic that she doesn't think that we should do that. And it's a big issue in the sense that there appears to be broad-based but very narrow at the top. As of yesterday, I was informed that 14 institutions have been accredited to train lawyers.
That's at the LLB level?
LLB level. Whereas at the professional level, they can admit only about 400 persons at a time. And this year, it's likely 2,000 students will be writing exams, and they may have to only admit 400. So what happens to the 1,600? Right. You have a situation where people will be writing every year just to enter the law school, when they've maybe spent 4 years at the faculty. Right. It's a big problem. We need to address it. There should be some coordination between accreditation and the General Legal Council. And then, of course, the General Legal Council should also put in some guidelines, rules and regulations which would enable us to expand the whole process, because the 400 out of 2,000 is a very dangerous thing for us. Right. And we should find other avenues of making sure that this is addressed. One other issue, briefly, is that if you listened to her yesterday, 3 things came out. When it came to opinion about judgments, she wasn't interested. She just given a judgment. I'm not here to come and justify it. And if you wanted to ask her opinion about pertinent issues, which are likely to come before her, gay rights, she was very professional, because it will end up before her, and she'll already have made up her mind. And if you certain questions to ask, she will tell you the matter is in court. Subjudication, cannot. So she's not going to touch on, which is exactly what the professional way to go. So the thing about being evasive and all, what could be looked at within a certain context. Of course, people have their opinions about that, which is fine. Given our judgment. Yes. So why do you want me to come and justify Muntie here? That's fine. So we don't want to go back into all those. But I want Honorable Dr. Park, quickly that we move on, touch on the bigger about the legal education, because you have some views on that.
I do, because access to justice is very important. In fact, it is the right of every citizen to have access to justice, because that is the only way you can seek redress in a democracy. He wants to campaign for court in a democracy. So having more lawyers and having a lot more people in that area of having the expertise to help us seek redress is important. So I would agree that we need to take a second look at modifying the system, so that those who have the acumen, have the interest to study law and be called to the bar so that they can practice. They would have that opportunity. An equal opportunity.
But whilst we wait to do that, couldn't we have other avenues that people who are not able to go in could do? Like she talked about the paralegals and all of that.
That is right.
And again, she put the ball in the court of parliament that it's pretty much cut out for you. Currently there's no legislation regulating that. So for instance, that may become necessary.
Well, but sometimes that's I don't want to use the word mistake we make. Parliament We don't make laws.
The executive would
the
have to bring it.
executive will have
Exactly.
to bring the law. So that we make the laws.
There's always that.
So be as it may, we can look at creative ways of, augmenting what we have or dealing with
make the
the
best
challenge.
use of.
Whilst, I think in the near future, the stakeholders should be consulted. I find it very strange that schools are accredited to run programs, and yet there seems not to be some synergy between those schools and at least the Office of the Chief Justice, the Judicial Service, the General Legal Council, and indeed the Judicial Council.
Right.
So I think that it is time that there's some type of synergy, because there's no point in creating a very broad base.
Sure.
As you said earlier,
with a very
5 lanes all converging into 1 lane.
Yeah,
it simply doesn't make sense. You are creating a backlog, and that in itself then generates avenues for acts of corruption.
Exactly.
Because when you have 5,000 students, 4,000 students, and out of the 4,000 students, only 500 or 600 or even 1,000 can have access to law school. Quite clearly, people would try ways and means, as we say in Ghana, to get through.
Right.
So I think that this is a matter that should be taken very seriously.
Yes.
My honorable MP, that the University of Education, whenever every year we produce close to about 5,000 teachers. They don't get work. Do you understand? I think probably the question that was posed to the Chief Justice, with the greatest of respect, was quite a wrong question. In the sense that, there's been this debate that Makola School should be scrapped. She said no. You are saying that the school should be, and she said no. She said, look, when you go to Legon or Tech or whatever, what you go to do is theory. Then when you're done, you come to what? A place to do the professional whatever it is. If for us as a people, we think that, look, as Honorable said, let's open it up. Let's have the professional training in different areas so that we can absorb more. That, I believe, makes sense. However, it's also important for us to know that we have to sit down and ask, a country of 26 million people, how many lawyers do we need? You want everybody to become a lawyer?
But those are choices.
Let me finish.
I want to contribute.
Let me finish.
I will come to you.
No, let me finish.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Dr. Janapo, yes, please wrap up for me.
Agree.
No,
let me finish. Let me finish.
Yes.
You see, in those days, we used to have something they call profession. And when they say profession, because of their uniqueness, lawyers, doctors, and those people. And this group of people, one of the characteristics of that profession is that they restrict entry. Yeah, it's not true. They restrict who comes in and who goes out. When you have, excuse me to say, all these schools that are coming up and claiming they are training lawyers, that is why there's a competitive exam.
Yes.
That's why there's a competitive exam.
Indeed, there used to even be interview.
Right.
Yes.
Which is currently what happens as well after the exam. Says Mr. Jackson, briefly, and then we'll carry on.
Let's be clear, right? There's so many organizations that require lawyers. Yes. I come from the financial sector. I need a lawyer every other day. And I don't necessarily need somebody who litigates or somebody who's
you need a solicitor
or there's corporate law. And so for me, this whole thing about restricting access, I disagree. There are far more lawyers we need in this country. And in fact, it is because access to these lawyers and to the rules and the regulations and the law, sometimes it all adds up to this feeling that we can't get justice, which then translates into mob groups. Exactly. I think if you want higher standards, go for higher standards. That's not the argument at all. But don't restrict.
Right.
We need to
end this, please, because we have 3 more topics to look at. And it's important. Everything else is important, but we need to move on.
You know, at a point in time in this country, when you go to the university and you don't get, you say, ask for teacher, I'll get teacher job.
Yes, but that was
today.
But that's a different. That's a completely different
professional organization. They decide who enters and who does not. Is it the case that people don't get to go to the law school?
Well, this argument can go on and on and on and on, but we need to bring it to an end. Please, we're moving on.
What you're saying is that the need is great in that
you got a pipe that
400 a year for Ghana.
Mr. Jackson, we're moving on. I'll need you, Mr. Jackson, to start us off on this issue.
All right.
Maybe that'll keep you quiet.
I want the court information
we're moving on to the...
I want to be a lawyer, but
Tamale issue, the regional hospital issue, where the outgoing CEO earlier on in the week and apparently was reported to have insisted that he wasn't going until he had official communication from the Ministry of Health, the appointing authority. And it's raised a number of issues because you had vigilante groups affiliated to the NPP again rearing their heads up north, Kandahar boys, and another group coming in and all of that, you know, a repeat of something we've already seen and condemned. But my question is, couldn't this situation have been avoided if the appointing authority coming to the realization that, yeah, we want to terminate your appointment, just give him a termination letter, and then the successor comes in, excuse me. But where you have a situation where if what he's saying is true, which is somebody shows up, says, well, yes, I've been appointed to take over, is that the best thing to do?
I must say this, right? This issue of the way appointments are handled is a blot on the record of the NPP. There's no way to put it. If, listen, you are the minister, you are the Ghana Health Service or whatever it is. Even if you don't want the guy, give him a letter, tell him who to hand over, and issue is done. Go to court. And then let him go to court. And you have listen, an employment contract is between the employer who wishes to give you, and you also, so we all have rights. If it is wrong, it is wrong. And let nobody think that the fact that the government has changed all employment contracts should be put in the dustbin. You can't do that. Then we are degenerating into lawlessness. This issue should be condemned if the guy hasn't, and here, if he hasn't been given a letter, on what basis does he hand over to somebody else? He's even abdicating his authority. And it's very simple. There's this impression everybody has that we're going through a process where new king, all of you go. And the danger is that we will sit here again in another season, and this time it may just be NDC, NPP. And this states for tat, and us being tossed around as if we are ping pong balls, and when somebody comes, he plays this, and somebody. It's not the parties are treating us in a ridiculous manner.
Yes, Honorable Obiamwa, the NPP came with a promise of change. So I really don't. I mean, this thing about what had happened in the past, I think the right way. We should move away from that. We shouldn't even hear that. I know you're not going to say that, but I'm just saying that, just in case. But the point is, but Honorable, is that the right thing to do? Is that standard practice? You want to terminate somebody's appointment, you don't give them a termination letter, somebody shows up and says, well, this is it. Is that the best way to do it?
Let's narrow it down to this matter.
Exactly.
And then we look at the general situation.
Right.
Well, regarding this matter, I heard the PRO of Ministry of Health admitting that he made a mistake.
Okay.
Oh. No, he did actually.
Yes. Well, but that's good.
You made a mistake.
But it shouldn't have happened. Yes.
You made a mistake with Reed.
Mr. Jackson, yes.
Let me. Admitting that he made a mistake. Admitting that he made a mistake.
Right.
Because you don't write to the person taking over and copy the person there and say that I've done my job. Because if you want to terminate or you want to even relocate, transfer, you have to write a formal letter giving the situation. But you don't just say that because I've copied him, he has to vacate. And then the worst part was the fact that they said they were organizing a send-off, those things. So definitely is bad.
Tacky.
Two, if you look at a larger picture, what you say is that what is happening to our administrative system?
Yes. Because then there's an issue about handing over. Yeah. What happens? Continuity.
No, listen. You go to a ministry, there's a chief director. The chief director is head of administration. You go to every institution, there's somebody who is in charge of these things. So, granted that even the political appointee decides that this is how you should do it, the chief director, you should be instructed to write these things, and you should use the administrative process to do the right thing. It's not happening everywhere.
But this is a case we consistently, civil service, the public service is being said to have been politicized.
No, not necessarily. If it's politicized, what do we mean by that? I've gone to the Ministry of Local Government. The chief director who was there, he's still there. Everything is referred to him. He has institutional memory. He has all the documents. He knows what is going on. So everything is minuted to him to act on or to respond. So where is the politicization?
But when certain inactions or certain actions come up that allow for people to read meanings, then the thing about politicization becomes relevant.
Administratively, we should know what should be done. Probably some of us, because of our training, we have an advantage. I started from the presidency. But administratively, even if I want to ask, I go for the law first. What is the law saying?
Yes, you need to be back.
If it's termination or transfer or whatever, where is the person's appointment letter? What does it say? You see, so these things should help us. Unfortunately, if we have taken decision on 200 cases and 10 are bad, it's the 10 which will be blown. Every day we carry out administrative actions. Every day. But it's not, nothing happens because it's good news.
So far as it's done according to law, they will be fine.
Of course, so if it's bad news, then the bad news will come up.
And we'll need to talk about
this is 216. So far it's about 20 that we still haven't been able to conclude. But otherwise, over 200, they are in place. But look at what's happening in Savugu, and it's like everything is chaotic.
Because we're expecting a certain standard from the party that comes in and that came in and said, we are for change. No, forget about the old ways.
But you are for change, but you're only coming as a political class. There's still the administrative class. And some of the mistakes, they are not only committed by political class, some of the mistakes are by the administrative class.
Very well, which we need to look at as well. But
my point is this.
30 seconds and I move on to the...
Because of the pressure from the vigilante group, the impression is created that there is pressure on the administrative class to get some things done, and they get it wrong. If this had been done, and it had been done without the pressure, then we would say, oh, maybe somebody made a mistake, and we'd say, sorry, we accept your error and go on. But you see that there's a connection. There's a connection, and that's where, otherwise, we would lay the blame.
There's a connection which we cannot turn a blind eye to.
Thank you. Otherwise, we would lay the blame on the Ministry of Health. Right. But this time, we're laying the blame on the party because of that, the vigilante effect, which says that get rid of this man. He's not our man. And then you end up with this situation. Please, we have to make the link.
Right. Definitely, definitely. And we are entitled to make that link, whether it's true or not. We are entitled to. I'll come to you last, yes, Doctor. You are sitting too close to Okay, Dr. Jinapo. Dr. Jinapo, yes. Let me hear you on this.
I think first of all,
this was a totally avoidable situation.
Dr. Kamba is somebody that I know. I mean,
I am not better actually.
We
come from the same small village called Bukinga.
Okay.
So that's why I'm quietly listening.
You see, the point is this: I share the frustration of my big brother, Mr. Jackson, and I think it's a frustration that most Ghanaians do share. I mean, in terms of people being moved from their positions and stuff like that. And even the former president did make reference to that when they were having their 25th anniversary. You see, let's call a spade a spade. May I always say this. If, Mr. Jackson, you are appointed to become CEO of Tamale Hospital or Ridge Hospital by virtue of the fact that you are an NDC man, you supported NDC. If MPP comes, you must go. It's simple as that. No, let me finish. If you are appointed, not based on merit, you, Mr. Jackson, you are appointed as Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board because you are NDC. You support NDC. If you go to Chief Executive Officer of what? Cocoa Board, you will support NDC. If MPP comes, you sabotage them. You must go. It's as simple as that.
But
you want
the
to go,
rules must be followed.
But what he's talking about, the rules that got you in place. The rules that got you in place.
NDC means that the rules are not being followed. That's the point I'm making.
No,
Because you don't get my point.
I do. Totally. Because you're raising issues about merit.
That is it. That is the point that is the problem that we have in this country. So whoever is appointed as Tamale CEO today, if MPP lose, he must be prepared to go.
Pack your bag and baggage. Yeah.
If that is what we want to do. You understand what I'm saying? So I think as a country, we might, and that is why you asked an important question to Honorable Obiamwa, that the change that we were asking for, I don't think this is what Ghanaians need. I've made a point that, look, if you are appointed under the auspices of what? A political vehicle, if a new political party comes, you must go. But I think there needs to be a change. And I would have expected that the president would have done something about it. But you see, the reality on the ground is that when Mr. Jackson was talking about vigilante groups, the people in Tamale, those in Kumasi, they live with these people. And they know their contributions towards what? They're not coming to power. This kind of boys that they are talking about. For you know, they know Mr. Akamba. They know how much Akambo. They know how much he was contributing to what? To NDC. They know his utterances. You understand what I'm saying? So if something of this will happen, the president can sit in Accra. They won't even mind him. Do you get my point? That is why I think it is important that when you are in a certain position, you don't have to delve into politics. But if you want to be a politician, be a politician. If you want to do NDC, be NDC. No, I'm not saying you should abdicate your position. Let's say if I'm the, what do they call it, regional Tamale hospital, I'm the chief executive officer, and I want to do my NDC politics. That means it's a game that I understand and I've gotten into. That when MPP comes, I'm prepared to leave. You pack and go. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is, if NDC wins, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll be made deputy minister for health. Do you get the point? But why? But when you when you are a chief executive officer, I'm not saying that is the case with this man. When you're a chief executive officer and you are doing open politics, openly victimizing your staff because they are opposition, your government is in power, the people themselves will say you should go. But doesn't make it legitimate. In this particular
but let me ask this question.
I'm telling you that we are not there.
Yes.
We are not in Tamale.
Yes, but they know, but we don't know exactly what it is.
The proper thing needs to be done.
Exactly, which is where I'm coming to. You know, the Presidential Transition Act makes reference to certain categories of people who need to pack their bag and baggage.
When the president
exactly.
Yeah.
The CEO are not included. So why do we see that happening?
The CEO should also do politics.
Well, you're raising that point as well.
Yes. As I indicated earlier.
Because if you get it wrong in getting the person appointed, then when somebody is raising the issue about they needing to check out, then there's an issue about, is it true or not?
I understand the context within which Dr. Jinakwa made his submission. But that is the bigger general picture, which I think we can all agree to, that we should be advocating for non-political appointments to be based on merit and qualification. As you rightly said, you know, the Presidential Transitional Act clearly states, and having worked at the presidency before, Obiamwa has been there too, it's clear that there are certain numbers of persons that the president appoints. At our time, it was in the range of 4,500 to 5,000. Now, with 110 ministers and indeed, you know, an organization like NADMO having 5 deputies, it is very clear that this president is going to appoint at least minimum about 7,000. Let's just put it that way. So those appointees, for example, if the president is going, they know that they have to go.
Right.
But the argument is around the professionals that we have recruited through the Public Services Commission. And Dr. Akambon, for example, as I indicated, is a relative. We come from the same small village in Bulsa South known as Doninga. He was practicing at Tamale Hospital before it became a teaching hospital. And then he started also teaching at the medical school. Yeah, we come from the same village.
Is he NDC?
No, he's not. That's the point I'm trying to make. As a matter of fact, he's not NDC.
Okay.
He's not NDC. So he rose through the ranks. And he indeed went through the right processes to get that appointment. But the problem we are having now is the inability of the ministry to act properly. I mean, truly, I would have been very offended and I would have questioned his competence if he had just handed over without getting explicit instructions from the sector minister, proffering reasons why.
Not even reasons for the termination, because you don't need to give reasons, but
available to him. You don't
just, as a professional, you don't just walk out of.
Which is what Mr. Jackson said. That would have been an abdication of his duties. Yes.
I mean, who is to say that if he had just acceded to the letter shown him by Dr. Akolobila, who himself is actually now under threat because there's another group saying that they don't want to. They wouldn't have gone behind him to engage in some type of mischief and create situations that can even make him culpable, by law. So I think that what he did in resisting the effort to ask him to leave without proper documentation was the right thing to do.
Definitely, so
and I think
totally agree with that.
It must be applauded by all of us. But I think that the ministry too, certainly coming out to apologize is acceptable. But that shouldn't have happened in the first place.
And perhaps with this apology, we are not going to see any more of such incidents.
Let's hope so, because it's becoming one too many. But you see, Abna, we cannot run away from the role of the party activists and the vigilante groups. Which
brings in the issue about Sabelugu Nanson, because that for me is totally absurd. That somebody manages to pull 50 out of the 64 votes cast by the Assembly, representing 78.13. Legitimately, she's been approved, yet she's prevented from going into her office to take up her duties.
Very well. So let me quickly finish this and then I'll tie it in. It's a good way to...
Exactly. Dovetail.
Crossover. Dovetail.
Yes.
Well, it's
yes, carry on.
It's good. So the point I'm trying to make is that the vigilantism, the party activists, and their constant clamoring for their government to give them opportunities has a role to play in the conduct of some of the public servants. A lot of them are intimidated. There are many of them who don't even know whether they are going to get to keep their jobs. So they are prepared to take orders and act without. But how do you write a letter?
You're a professional. Why do you take orders?
How do you write a letter to an incoming CEO without informing the one that should leave for that incoming CEO?
You make it sound so easy. Really, in the real situation, is it that simple?
I have a peculiar situation.
But please, before you go on, he wanted to.
So let me just wrap up on this.
Yes,
he's the Deputy Minister for Local Government. So Savlugu, we expect you to contribute a lot.
So please wrap up.
But even this situation is even a lot more murkier now. It's not just the fact that Dr. Akambong did the right thing by refusing to cede the position because he has not received any explicit instruction. But it is now the fact that there is competing interest. Dr. Akolobila, who has been given the letter to take over, is now being chased away by another group who believe that they have a better candidate, who they say was actually somebody who served, they openly said it, who served and contributed towards the victory of the MPP.
So what NDC
and therefore, he deserves the position. They are accusing Dr. Akolobila of having been a tacit supporter of the NDC. So we cannot take the political activism and the vigilantism out of what is happening.
It definitely is a real situation we're looking at.
And it's very bad.
And the factors there, we know them. They are real. There's that pressure coming from, these vigilante groups. And then there's the other side, which is those we expect to act professionally, who are being pressured to do certain things. But that's what, Honorable, you're talking about, that why can't you be professional? I'm asking, is it that simple?
No,
given the realities on the ground. But I understand there's an ethnic dimension to it that I would want us to touch on, but please,
I would say that I have a peculiar problem or peculiar situation of having my father retire as principal secretary in a ministry. He had moved to various ministries.
But that was several years ago.
As far as I'm concerned, once you are trained as an administrative officer, you should know what happens.
But isn't it the case that things have changed so much?
No, you may be political, but are you telling me that because you're a chief director and another government has come, you should put things on paper which are clearly wrong?
But it's done, isn't it?
It will cost you your job any day. Because if the institution is sued, you'll be part of it. So that excuse should never be countenanced. That because change of government has come, and I was chief director under the old administration, the new administration has come, I should please the new administration by doing the wrong things. I don't accept that.
But we do see it happen.
So why are they changing the
if it happens, it means that person should be held responsible.
How many have been held responsible that weekend? I mean, for doing the wrong things, for instance. How many chief directors have suffered?
The point being made is that I move into a ministry. I asked the chief director, who was appointed by the old government, to do the wrong thing, and then he's done the wrong thing. I don't understand it.
But
wrong
how
thing.
did it happen?
This is administrative lapse. Administrative lapse. You should have
this is more
written.
than an administrative
You should have written. You should have written to the person that you want to transfer or to remove.
Okay,
not
so
just copy.
let me ask this question, Honourable.
Why was he
Just a minute, Honourable. So,
why can't you
no,
transfer
gentlemen,
people?
just a minute.
The rich hospital situation.
Honourable.
The person was at UDS and they brought him to rich hospital.
Good. Honourable Obiama, so let me ask this question.
From UDS and go back to UDS. Is
Honourable Obiama, gentlemen, please let me ask this question so we can carry on. So, are we taking...
You sitting here, Winniba,
are we taking the apology?
ADC comes and they say go back. Is it a crime?
Honourable Obiama, are we taking the apology from the ministry simply as that? So we carry on. They've apologized. Shouldn't we see consequences for that wrong step?
Certainly, administrative officer can be queried or anything. The problem is the vigilante aspect. The problem is those who think that because they belong to a party, even when the president has taken a decision, they should find every means to reverse it, including using violence. That is a problem.
And then the police dimension comes in.
Yes,
Mr. Jackson, please take in that.
People call me about Saviligu, and I said that, what is the law? The law says the president nominates, the assembly will approve. When the president nominated, there was agitation. But they called me and said that the president has done his part. Let the nominee and the assembly to do their part. Assembly came out and said that we have endorsed her. Now she wants to work. People say that we will not let her go and work. How am I going to come in? It's the law enforcement agency which will come in, arrest people, deal with people.
But these vigilante groups came into being by reason of the parties using them.
The sword.
Which sword are you talking about?
The vigilante sword.
Which vigilante sword? Which vigilante sword?
Listen,
please allow him. Please allow him.
Let me tell you what's happening. When we fail to decisively condemn the actions of these vigilante groups as the party, then all that happens is that now they feel emboldened enough to say, listen, look at what is happening now in Saviligu. The president nominated. You can say, I don't like. Your assembly accepted. Deal done. You still say, we will not allow you to take.
That is illegal, unlawful. So the law should take its course.
You see, here's the thing. Unfortunately, when you have a situation where we've seen a certain sequence of actions where people
Delta 13.
No, but the matter still not in court.
Mr. Jackson, yes.
in court.
So it's been pursued.
The point we are making is this. You see,
there were certain endorsements publicly by members, high-ranking members of the party, and that is a fact.
And you see the official position of the party.
That's true, but that's true.
Came out to condemn it.
True, but still we had that kind of endorsement.
The problem you have is that we haven't felt yet that these condemnations are heartfelt and are sincere and are honest, and you will carry through to the end. And once you don't do that,
God has to act as a police.
No.
Or the prosecution.
Yeah, that's not what we're saying.
Yes, Mr. Jackson, line for me.
You can express your outrage, right? I'll give you an example on the issue where there was Mahama, the poor. Is he a captain now?
Yes, a major.
Major now. Okay. Who was? Do we not sense that there was real outrage and an outpouring of grief over the matter? Unfortunately, we don't see that same sense when we talk about Galamsey. Do we not sense that from the top there's real outrage and real pressure for us to do the right thing? Let us see that same, let us feel that same sense where these vigilante groups who are clearly allied to one party or the other, so that they themselves would realize that there is something wrong. I came from Kumasi.
But Mr. Jackson, that is a fact, definitely. But the other side of it, which is the law enforcement, too, is critical.
Want the president to be the IGP.
It's also
the
critical.
Has condemned it repeatedly.
So it's both sides. The president.
But you can't have it both ways. If you can say at this table that public servants feel the pressure, why shouldn't the police feel the pressure?
They feel the pressure more than even a public servant.
Thank you.
They feel the pressure.
So that's my point. Yes. That they're saying the pressure from the top, or the sense that, listen, these guys have some influence and can and I don't want to go against them. That same sense that makes someone fail to do his administrative duty will infect the police. It's the same thing over and over again.
That's why I always say that is the bad news which come out. In these whole situations, people have been arrested. In these whole situations, go to Tamale when they were doing MC thing, people were detained, and they are still before court. We should not create the impression that people take the law into their own hands and then we fold our arms.
We tell you that, okay, thank you. So publicize this.
Yes,
and let us hear and see that, listen.
Yes. Because at the end of the day, until we see that happening, the deterrent side of things, we can never, reform.
That's the PR side. That's the PR side.
Yes, but let me come to Dr. Jinapor and Doc here on this issue, because I'm being told that there's a certain ethnic dimension to it, which Doc, you are actually acknowledging. What exactly is that situation? Yes, Dr. Jinapor is in our country.
Are we looking at the Savlugu or the Tamale one?
The Tamale one. The Tamale one.
But you see, this whole thing is unfortunate, and it boils down to lack of discipline. It's just indiscipline, in the sense that if you listen to the narrative of the Deputy Minister for Local Government, he states clearly the processes. The president nominates, and when he's nominated, the president is nominated, the constituency or the assembly approves. And the assembly, the 64 people that you are talking of, are representatives of what? The community.
Yes.
So, at the end of the day, the approval or the vote does not reflect what the youth are saying. It's a clear endorsement.
It's representative of the people in general.
Of the people, whether they were bribed or whatever, but that's what it is. But you see, there's a bigger picture in the sense that, I'll give you a typical example. The Tamale hospital issue. You remember there was a point in time the Tamale youth went and closed down the hospital. Yeah. It was the regional minister who went and opened it. Said. He went and opened it. Today, what we are being told is that somebody is being appointed. That person does not come from that area. And the people say no. I don't know whether you know Tamale, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. In the sense that, look, there were times that even principals of training colleges, people agitated that, look, we don't want this person, we want somebody, an indigent. You can't fault them for that.
Why not?
Why do you have to fault them for that?
You're looking at competence.
If I come to say that, look, I don't want Obiamwa to be the minister for education because he's not from my area, you insult me. But you have to look at the kind of people that you are looking at. Do you understand what I'm saying? Their level, I'm not trying to be insulting or whatever it is. The education and stuff like that. But the president or the appointing authority will have to stand his ground. He says, look, whether he's from there or not, this is a country and that hospital is for all of us. I'm looking at competence. But you see, the point that Mr. Jackson makes about this whole issue of people not feeling the pinch of being more or less punished for their actions is a legitimate claim. In the sense that even Northern Region, do you know they went to attack National Health Insurance Office? As at now, whether people have been arrested or not, I don't know. This MC issue, if not because the MP, the minister is saying that people have been arrested, we didn't know. I think at the end of the day, when people do the wrong thing, the whip needs to be cracked. But I must say, I strongly am happy about the tenacity of that woman, Ajia. And I would tell her not to relinquish that position. I've heard people say that she should step aside. She should not. She should make a statement. No, she should not. Why would she step aside?
Every day, go enjoy her day.
No, but she should not. Because you see, this thing must stop.
She's been validly appointed.
No, but I think it's a statement to the youth that recalcitrance must not be tolerated. And I find it very, very unfortunate on the part of the security agencies when I heard that a policeman was even locked up at the assembly by the youth. Then I said that and said,
but they went there. The police and the military went there.
Well, I think people who misbehave needs to be what?
Brought to book. Exactly.
It shouldn't be.
Exactly. Yes.
But Hajia is it what?
Yes,
Asiedu-Dartey must stand her ground. She must do her work, unless.
But if they're locking up police, I mean members of the security. but they are doing them nonetheless.
There needs to be security people there.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Security should be intensified.
No, I think she should be checking it out.
Yes, I want you to touch on that dimension. But you see, Dr. Jinapo raised this issue about, yes, if he, for instance, or any of us here goes to say that kind of thing the youth are agitating about, I mean, you would be, you know, basically discounted, as in you should know better. So in a certain sense, we are agreeing that perhaps by reason of a certain lack of appreciation of the issues, these people are engaging in that. But isn't it the case that politicians exploit this very vulnerabilities, if you like, of the people? And then in the end, you have this effect.
Yes. The short answer is yes. And I think that what is playing out definitely gives credence to what you are saying. In the particular case of the quagmire regarding the Tamale General Hospital, it is obvious.
Tamale.
But Tamale is a My mother was born in Pont Tamale, so I know that place fairly well.
Right.
Because the two incidents are connected.
Definitely,
for me,
that's why we tied them in, yes.
These are all examples of lawlessness and
discipline, yes.
And there is no other way to put it. Yeah. So they bring in the ethnic dimension. Now, they are not even worried about the fact that Dr. Kambong has not left yet. They are worried about the person that the president has appointed to replace Dr. Kambong. And one would have thought that since, from what I hear, they are all practicing doctors at the same hospital. Oh, okay. At least they could influence the conduct of these. They could influence the conduct of these young men. What prevents the other person?
But they're looking out for their interest,
that is the point, and that is where the politics comes in. So
not necessarily politics. It's about survival. You're looking at the person's economic interest here.
You took him out.
Underneath all of this, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. It's a low blow. I think I agree. He's trying to get me off track. But you see, Abner, generally, for me, I've said it again, I truly think that the buck stops with the president. And I truly think that in many ways, the president's own party activists, their conduct and their behavior, you know, has been very disrespectful to the president. What is happening in Savlugu, what happened with the Delta 8 and the Delta 13, all of these have to do with the president's nominees and appointees. And his own people, rank and file vigilante groups, have risen against what he has decided is best. So then you ask yourself, how come that some high-ranking party officials in the ruling party are sort of giving tacit and overt support to these groups, and at the same time that my senior colleague Obi is saying that the president has been condemning this? So if the president has been condemning this and it keeps happening, doesn't that tell you that we have a problem?
We do. We definitely do. But it goes beyond.
Who else is supposed to intervene as the president?
You know,
Mr. Jackson, yes.
Unfortunately,
it's getting the impression that this is
does
something
not even
new.
have the moral authority.
No, I'm not talking about morals. We are talking about the present dangers that we face.
I like it when that comes from a neutral person, not another party. Yes, exactly. So if it's coming from Mr. Jackson, yes.
To pronounce on this issue. Because when they were in power, we saw the same
thing.
It happened. Similar things happened.
The point I'm making.
All I'm saying is documents. The two of you. Hello.
Definitely, yes. No. Mr. Jackson made that interjection, but Mr. Jackson, I think your interjection is well noted. Honorable, let Dr. Park finish. Dr. Park, please conclude on your submission.
And you are saying it's better.
Please conclude with your submission.
Used to cry in his office.
Doc, are you done with your submission? Because I'm allowing you to conclude. You're done.
Yes. So I know where Jackson is taking this, but just let me finish swallowing my cherry. You know, I have the piece of the cherry in my mouth. So let me sever it before you come in. Okay. Because I know you are going to create a different taste.
Please carry on, yes. Please carry on.
You really prepared for me today, didn't you? He had been warning me in the house that he's going to deal with me. Okay. And I think he's right.
We are not taking notice of that.
The point I'm making is that it is time that we begin to feel the anger, the frustration, the revulsion about this acts of lawlessness and impunity that is going on. If it happened in the past, we condemned it. If it is happening now, we should condemn it. But when my president speaks about something, gives an assurance to the people, to the Otumfuo, to Parliament, that he is not going to superintend over acts of lawlessness,
and yet we keep seeing these things reoccurring. It makes you worry about who is actually in charge. It seems to me as though our security services have been castrated. Quite clearly, they feel powerless in the face of what is going on. And we must call it spade.
If there was ever such a castration, I don't think it's only in recent times. It's been...
That is because there is
for a very long time. But let me...
There's a lack of...
Let me take some messages, please.
The signals are
just
confusing. They don't know where to take
okay,
the
that's
orders
fine.
from. That is what is
I think we've had enough from the panel on this. Let me take some messages from viewers and listeners. This one here is coming in from Abu Isaac in Tamale. He says, hi, Abna, the situation in Savelugu is condemnable, but it all boils down to unemployment. Well, there's somebody bringing in that dimension. How can sandwich and distance graduates remain in the house after graduation? We, the Unemployed Teachers Association, are appealing to government to do something about us. Now, you see, this person is trying to make it seem like this is coming from an unemployed bunch of graduates, which perhaps then rules out the fact about these people not appreciating the issues, because these are educated people, if indeed what this person is saying, what he's saying is true. But we are moving on nonetheless. Stalon in Suhum says, I am astonished at the brouhaha surrounding the CEO position of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. The laws regulating the civil service permits the employer to transfer any employee to any place that the employee's service is needed. Why should there be disagreement when the former CEO is transferred? However, Ministry of Health should also be careful with such transfers and appointments and shouldn't create unnecessary tension in the hospitals. Augustine in Mamprobi says, Ghana School of Law cannot be scrapped, but we can't decide for others what they need to study by just restricting them. I agree. Do you know the number of lawyers produced in other countries? I have traveled and I've come across Ghanaian lawyers practicing and teaching in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and other places because they need them there. Restricting is not necessary. IB says the NPP government is not doing due diligence as a result. So many mistakes in the running of the country. The center is just not holding and they have no clue how to address the issue. Now, Metro Mass has 2 deputies, STC 2 or 3 deputies. Also, all the state institutions are the same. And that's and the person adds, a very heavy sigh there. Good morning, TV3 crew, please. It seems the Ministry of Health is busy sacking CEOs of hospitals than posting the group of nurses they claimed have been financially cleared to start work on the 1st of July. Yet posting to the various health agencies is yet to be done. To talk of postings to the various health facilities, and this is hashtag post us now by Ebenezer Wajoli in Cove Town. I agree with Doc because there's no way the NDC man can be CEO with this current administration. However, the work will be difficult for him. This is Godwin in Dabuase. Diamond Ashon from Teshi says the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital does not share in the vision of the NPP, so he must go. He is an NDC, so he will sabotage the government if he is left to stay in that office. Greetings. Greetings to Honorable Obi Amwa. I'm glad to be his boy. That's to you. Good morning, TV3. Let me take the last one here. Good morning, TV3.
Mountain Lions.
The Ministry of Health is always... Please let me read this. The Ministry of Health is always quick to relieve people from their positions, but very slow in posting nurses. They claimed clearance has been released since the 5th of May, but up to date, no single name has been released for postings. What we are told every week is next week. Our episode 2 picketing is coming soon, Mr. Minister. Well, watch out, Ministry of Health. This is noticed that there's a second round of picketing going to occur, so you better act fast. I don't know what you're intending to do, but anyways, we'll take a break. Stick and stay with us. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to New Day Saturday edition. We're live on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, and we are streaming live on the internet at 3news.com, also on GhanaWeb.com, and on our Facebook page at TV3 News. We'll be moving on to look at the next topic, which is the Youth Employment Agency and all that is happening with that agency. But I'll take some messages from viewers and listeners before we go on to the panel. Mark in Sandama says, I salute you and all your panelists, especially Honorable Dr. Pak. God bless you. The Savelugu problem, I don't blame the supporters by the politicians. When they want power, they promise heaven and earth. When they get it, they pretend they have never seen or met NU before. What they now know is law, but they forget of the law during campaign. Fire, okay, no, yeah, I'm not going to carry on that. We'll move on. Abanga Edward Success from Bolga says, I strongly support my good brother Junapo that when your appointment is not on merit, but based on political affiliation, one must exit the door. I'm sorry, I just lost that, too bad, but essentially we get your point. Interestingly, your panelists are doing well on the deliberations, but seriously, the frequent interruptions, okay, I'm interrupting them, you're saying, is distorting the free flow of individual contributions. That's Prof. 1 in color. Good morning, Abna. Please, what is Honorable OB talking about? He says, did he know that even the MP said the woman is not part of them? So please, wrong is wrong. I'm not sure exactly what this one is about, but your point is well made. What we have today is substandard president who is not in control, period. That Osman in Nankese. It says, Auntie Abna, good morning to you and your panelists. I don't agree with Mr. Jackson because the fact that the NDC couldn't condemn its followers does not mean NPP shouldn't condemn its people. The way forward is the party leadership should call its followers to order. We'll put a break on the messages here for now and then get back to the panel. So we are looking now at the ongoing developments occurring at the Youth Employment Agency. The new management has made some allegations of payroll fraud against the previous management, and they have come out of the minority in parliament. The NDC came out in a press conference this week to pretty much discount the allegations that have been put out by the new management. So we are looking at the back and forth here, but also looking essentially at our attempt as a nation to empower the youth for a good cause. Are we on the right track? And other questions coming up. Honorable Obiamwa, I can see you right directly opposite me, so well, I'll start with you here.
Well, thank you. The issue of youth employment is critical. Indeed, during President Kufuor's presidency, the national security made it a security issue that brought about this whole JIDA concept, that the youth should be engaged, the youth should have work to do. We may not have all the factories, we may not have all the corporate bodies to employ them, but we need to be innovative enough to find a place for the youth. That started this whole JIDA thing. But along the line, we all agreed that it had to be formalized. MPP left office, NDC came, and then we had problems with JIDA to the extent that there was a whole committee or commission on JIDA with all the problems that you could think of. At the end of the day, the bill was brought to Parliament on youth employment. Indeed, when the bill came, some of us felt that it was rather going to worsen the situation, because how it was couched turned out to be a political thing. But thankfully, by the time the bill became an act, a lot of these things had been cleaned from the bill. Because where they were saying that the DC should be the head of the committee at the DC level, the regional minister should be in charge of employment at the regional level. When you have the board sitting in Accra, we managed to clean all those things. Eventually, we had an act for youth employment. And if some of us even insisted that within 6 months, there should be regulations, and they have regulations for youth employment. So we have now a structured system. Now, we were thinking that with the structured system, some of these problems will go away. Unfortunately, the impression we are getting now is that there are still some problems. And if the new CEO felt that he had to tell the whole world what he had come to meet, so be it. The only thing is, you have to make sure your facts are right and you don't malign anybody. Unfortunately, I was expecting that probably the old administration, those who were running the agency, will also come out to say that these are the facts. We differ with you on what you have said, this A, B, C, D. But overnight it's been turned to a whole minority against the youth employment. And that is not good enough. If you listen to the chief executive of the agency, he was more or less trying to tell us what we were going to do moving forward, except that these are some of the things that they found out. One is youth employment. If you are 50, you cannot be under youth employment. It's 18 to 35 under the law. So if by your documents you are even 36, you don't qualify to be in there. How much more those who are 48 and 50 and 52? We want employment, all right, but certainly at 48 you cannot be part of the youth. The law does not allow it. That's number one. Two, we're trying to give a system where even the payment system will be more transparent. But it has come out that people were using people's identities for this process.
But like you said in your summary, these are all yet to be.
No, he's
put them out there.
Yes, he has made his findings.
Yes.
Through audits or whatever.
And there's been the denial.
The denial should, if you push it to the political angle, we will be stuck. Because the minority goes to a press conference, and some of the things they say, they are even ridiculous.
Exactly. So the question then is,
to them, the age bracket is 15 to whatever.
What's the end game for the agency? Are they going to take steps to prosecute where necessary or what? Because putting it out there in the public domain like that really leaves it hanging, speculation and all of that.
I don't think putting it out there is the end of the matter. Because it's our resources which are going into it.
Sure.
And this year we're going to even devote more resources to it. If you, by the act, we are supposed to even take some percentage from the common fund. So this year,
80% from the communications service tax.
Yes.
Then you have 10% coming from GET fund, 5% from DACF or so. 10%, I think it's the other way.
10%
DACF.
from the common fund.
Yes.
So this year alone, they're entitled to about 157 million of the common fund. And we should make sure we use this money well. Otherwise, it becomes a whole conduit for all these things that you can think of. Fine. If you want youth within that age bracket, you will get. If you want youth who meet the requirements for them to be employed, but in a situation where people are even on the payroll and you cannot identify them, he's giving notice that they should come out if indeed they say they are part of this. And nobody is coming out. Those things, they should come out. Okay. But for the minority to also jump in and say that whatever was said is not true, this, where are their facts? You are pegging the age bracket 15. How do you employ 15-year-olds? That's what the law says.
Very well. So again, the concern for me is, okay, how do we move on substantively on this so that it goes beyond just a press conference where, you know, you put out these things?
The agency is working.
Very well.
They're working every day. Some of these things that they found, if there are contrary opinions from those who manage the thing, they should bring them out. We will interrogate it.
Very well.
We see how transparent the whole thing is.
Sure.
And then we move on.
Okay. Dr. Jinapo, clearly the Jada scandal came and a number of things happened. A name change came in, YEA. There was an act passed. And like Honorable Obiamo is saying, it was passed, you know, with the intention of making things right so we don't experience the Jada situation. But clearly, if what we are hearing is true, we pretty much are caught up in the same, if not, you know, perhaps similar situation. Are we able to deal with situations of corruption in a way that is, you know, beneficial to us?
Well, I think there are two angles that this whole issue can be looked at. One, you can look at the usefulness of and relevance of YEA in terms of being a means of helping to more or less deal with the unemployment situation in the country. And the politics of it. I mean, Youth Enterprise Agency, we call it youth employment. We those on the street. Ask somebody who is standing on the street directing, what work are you doing? I'm doing youth employment. We even have some who are called Zoomers and all those. The truth is that that agency, like it or hate it, mostly is for, I mean, grassroots politicians, people who help the political party when the party comes into power. And even at a point in time, they used to change their uniforms. You know, they used to call for police, then Assignments came and changed. Assignments came and changed. But you see, the truth of the matter is that what we are discussing today, or what ignited this whole discussion, has to do with a press conference that was organized by the minority. And
no, it started with the new administration putting out certain facts, and then
it goes down to corruption. And I mean, it says that an internal audit conducted by the Youth Employment Agency has uncovered a huge payroll fraud, which has cost the country about 51 million Ghana cedis under the John Mahama government. And the NDC came to refute it.
Actually.
So my question is this, Abana: if there's corruption and there's evidence, arrest the people.
That's my point.
Can them take them to court, profess charges against them. Then if they are found to be culpable, they are thrown into jail. It is becoming too much, these accusations, which, excuse me to say, are not substantiated. You remember not too long ago, the Minister for Information, Mustafa Hamid, came to put us some allegation about some items where the National Security Coordinator had run away. As we sit now, where is the man? What happened to the people who were supposed to pay the money? Have they been taken to court or not? You see, this whole issue of trying to paint the NDC as a corrupt
that was
party.
the NCA listening device.
Yeah, of painting the NDC as a corrupt party. I think we've passed that stage.
You want to see prosecutions?
No, we've passed it. Let me finish.
It should go beyond the rhetoric, seriously. Otherwise,
in 2016, one of the reasons why we voted the MPP into power and voted the NDC out was this perception of corruption. So the onus lies on you to be able to prove it. If these people who spend $51 million, Ghana City, they are human beings and they are in this country, take them to court, profess charges against them. But when you come and it becomes politics, and this MPP says this, the NDC will come and counter, then it passes on, we don't hear anything about it. Then another issue, I don't think it's helping the country. If anybody has stolen money in this country, take the person to court, prosecute the person, and lock the person up. It's as simple as that.
And see, Dr. Japo just said it. So right now I'm going to Dr. Apak here.
Yes.
Obviously, I know his response.
Well,
and
yes,
so the question
is... You know my response.
So
I think that Dr. Jinako has been very fair to this issue. We all understand the basis. And I think earlier on, Obi spoke about that the thinking behind the creation of what has metamorphosized to the current Youth Employment Agency, to give, to sort of establish a temporary hold for our teeming youth, help some of them gain some employable skills before they are then given opportunity in the main competitive market system of demand and supply for their services. And it is a need. There are security implications when you have the bulk of your youth going about without anything to do. The agency has had problems. But I think the reason why we as a minority, we felt the need to respond is largely because of what we see as part of a deliberate effort by this government to accentuate the accusation they leveled against us during the campaign that we were corrupt.
What brought you out?
And so we feel that they are just now doing what
give a dog a bad name and hang it,
throwing out all kinds of information, even not authenticated, to try and suggest or to justify that accusation that they made against us. If not, why would the CEO hold a full-blown press conference? Full-blown press conference. To speak about an internal audit that I don't know has even been authenticated. We haven't seen the report. So what we have essentially done is to call him out. If you truly believe that what you have put out is justified and there is a basis, show us the evidence. Publish the names of the so-called ghost. Bearing in mind that even the president not long ago at the Independence Day celebration announced to the whole world the number of ghosts that were removed from the public payroll, only for the Minister for Finance to come and apologize, because we found out that several of them were actually at the parade that the president was addressing, and they were being referred to as ghosts. So this so-called thing about removing ghosts from the payroll itself, we have a challenge with that. And we have said, we put in certain mechanisms. Everyone who is recruited into the National Youth Employment Agency as a beneficiary, you have your eSwitch card, you have your YEA card, And the computerized system, as far as we know, makes it impossible for one person to receive double salary. So on what basis did he identify the so-called ghost, which then served as the bedrock to come and try and accuse us of practically engaging in payroll fraud, mentioning the name of the former president? So we wanted to set the records straight, and we wanted to challenge them. And now the ball is back in their court. They should do what is right.
What will happen if nothing is done beyond putting it out there like that?
The talk shop is becoming too much. And it is becoming very clear to Ghanaians that this attempt is not going to wash. It is just part of their diversionary tactics. A lot of things are not going on well. So we are calling them out on the 2.25 billion bond. You know, a lot of lawlessness going on across the country. So many things are just not in their right stead. And so from time to time, through these kinds of unjustified accusations in the public domain, just to try and remind people about a campaign promise that they made that I think that they are struggling to fulfill. I mean, we are looking at situations where we are looking at situations where anybody.
Today, you said he gave you notice, right?
Yeah, he gave me notice. So, but to cut a long story short, I think the onus lies on the acting CEO to demonstrate publicly the claim that he has made, and that can only be done by publishing the names that he claims are ghost names, the regions that those names are derived from.
Substantiate his facts.
Exactly.
Substantiate his facts and all that, because otherwise it remains.
The regions, the national level, they should publish the names. We don't have a problem.
And then take the necessary action moving forward.
That is it.
Mr. Jackson, let me hear you on this, but also let's look at the entity, the models they even have in there, and the fact that whether or not these models are really going to help us achieve what we intend to achieve. For me, I find some of the models questionable and uninspiring. Youth in coastal cleaning, youth in traffic, and all of that. What is that about? Does that inspire anything?
Sometimes I think that you have some link to know what is in my head. Scrap the whole scheme. No, listen. The scheme as it exists now is just continuously coming up with corruption. You've got to come up with a better way of doing this. It's just not working. All I've heard today is that this year we're going to give another 156 million. And I get scared because they're going to be it's just what has been done. We've shown that some people were overage, or some people were underage, some people did not exist. By the way, this e-switch does not solve those problems, even as the minority is saying. All we see is a scheme that constantly makes us feel that it's just a chop scheme. I'm saying this regardless of which party is in power. What does that mean? Chop scheme.
No, because it's just you're talking about empowering the youth.
Should we spend in these times? Should we spend 156 million?
It's only part of it, too, because communication service tax has income.
Don't even make it worse.
Yes.
Don't make it worse.
Only part.
Don't make it a lot worse.
Yes.
Should we give people to what? Clean? It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. And all we see is the scheme, as was originally mooted, was actually laudable. Give skills, etc. Now it has morphed.
But how is traffic management given the necessary skills?
Traffic management, it has morphed into something that is just corrupt. I'm not saying that we should not assist our youth. Let's be clear. But I'm saying that this method that exists now is just a chop method. All that's going to happen is they've leveled some allegations. Somebody has done some audit. It's come. I bet you before night is out on this issue, another set of allegations will come, and it's not just a trickle, it's a flood of allegations coming against the same scheme that has different names. scrap it.
Right, but even with the Judicial scandal, the recoveries of the money's there
Nothing
to date.
has happened.
What has happened? So
nothing has, and you know,
just something else, really.
But there's something else we must say. Truly, right? People of Ghana have said clearly that there's a perception of corruption. So please, recover our money for us. Money is not recovered from just talking about it. It's from prosecution. So please, the message should be that prosecute the people. Prosecute them. Don't just tell us about it. Start prosecuting them. Let someone go to jail.
Right. Dr. you're coming in, but you make that, but please address this for me. Should there be a retooling of the whole thing to then look at perhaps more entrepreneurial ways of engaging the youth so they contribute to the economy as opposed to these menial things they're doing, which adds nothing.
That is the objective of the program.
But it's not getting us there.
The objective
is not being achieved.
I'm coming. The objective of this program is supposed to be a transitional period.
That's right.
You get in there, you get in there, you get certain skills. Then you start your own whatever it is. You be on your feet. On your feet. But you see, this whole program has a lot of challenges. But let me come back.
So doing the youth in, for instance, youth in coastal cleaning, how does that help you transition to something better?
That is where that's why there's a problem with the models. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's where there's a problem. But you see, the point is that
this is what the monies have been committed to. So you ask questions.
The point that let me land very quick, Honorable, before you come in. Let's be very careful not to commit fallacy of hasty conclusion, in the sense that this 51 million is still an allegation. It's an allegation which has not been proven.
For me, I don't want us to even dwell on that.
Yes, it has not been proven. Yes. And unless it is proven, and I think the onus lies on the current administration to prove it. The way they can prove it is to what? Get the individuals who, quote and unquote, contributed to what? This corruption, and the beneficiaries. When we say ghost names, it means that people were taking money for no work done. Get them prosecuted and get them locked up. Having said that, look, this whole thing about this youth employment, I think we need to take a look at it seriously. And the responsibility lies on the current administration to do that. I think it's becoming, and I agree with Mr. Jackson to a reservoir, it's becoming an avenue for thievery.
Create loot and share.
For thievery, yeah.
Very well. But it's interesting. Honorable Obiama talked about the fact that there was an act passed basically to help, correct the wrongs and all. I'm looking at that act, section 16 of it talks about an internal auditor. And I'm asking the question, why would, assuming this allegation is true, why would it have to take a change in government for such findings to perhaps come out? If indeed this section here was to bite. Exactly. So then we were just kidding. We were just toying with the people kidding. Tickling ourselves and laughing.
That's why if you're not careful, you end up scrapping everything.
Thank you.
If it's for good reason, why not? Because these are huge sums of money being put into this agency.
Basically wrong for every institution. And you will not end up
so then we throw our arms up in the air.
This institution has nothing right. Everything.
If you take the trouble to read the act very well, it's far better than what was operating. Now,
but not good enough, yes, obviously.
But the most important thing now is implementation and your priorities. If you say you're going to use models and you discard a model which would train people to be useful or to be more useful even after 2 years, and rather go for the easier ones, go and stand in the sun, let me pay you. There's no hope. There's no hope that you even enter any of the forces. Then there's a problem.
Right.
And we will not be thinking out of the box. Like, this is the easiest way out. They want a job, so let's recruit them and let them 300 Ghana a month. Let them just go and do something. But
so it's not youth empowerment then we're doing. We're doing something else.
Yes, the employment should come with empowerment because it's a temporary thing. It's not going to be a long-term thing. At most 2 years. That's why they were even telling them to come for their benefits. Their provident fund and benefits. It was part of the statement. The most important thing is the priority now, and I think that we should all get involved and engage in this whole situation so that the monies which would be released will be used for the ones that we may think will be more beneficial, medium-term, long-term, than the short-term issue.
So clearly a retooling of the whole thing is needed.
Retooling will mean if you say retooling, it's as if the structures are not. The structures are in place. But it's the priorities.
It's the models and all of that.
Models.
Okay, very well. Let me take some messages and then we take a quick break and come back to look at the Winneba Youth, the University of Education. I'm sorry, please.
Anyway, so it's okay.
Good morning, Abna. The NPP constituency chairman has said that the Sabaligo situation has to be handled with care so they don't lose votes. The district commander of police said party elders have asked the police not to arrest or send away the youth when they come back to the assembly offices. Well, I'm not so sure about these. They're a bit, I'm not sure. We can't verify, so I'll just leave it there and move on. This one says, good morning, Abna. I think the youth at Sabaligo are going beyond bounds, and it's about time the law is allowed to work, no matter the contribution to the victory. This is Shaman in Accra. All we need as Ghanaians is action and result from our president and his team. What happened in the past was considered bad, and that was why we voted out the past government. So those things should not happen again under the control of a competent government. This is Kay Thomas in Bakpapa. Good morning, Abna. I enjoy your show. Please, for a better Ghana, let's stop comparing present wrongs to the past. We give way for excuses. I also suggest you get a police officer to take part in your future discussions. Point well noted. That's Henry Asiedu in Dan Somali. We'll pull the brakes here. We'll take a break. When we come back, I read some more messages and then we go to the University of Education Winneba issue. You're watching NewDay Saturday edition. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is NewDay Saturday edition, and we will be moving on to the University of Education Winneba issue. But before that, let me quickly take some messages. This is Anthony in Avrongo. He says, the NPP must realize that their failure to punish culprits just because they are supposed party members is breeding more of the misbehavior we see. Kofi Wuku in Akimoja says, corruption under the Youth Employment Agency must be blamed on the doorstep of the NDC government under His Excellency former John Mahama. And you ascribe no reason, but that's noted. I am happy that the Supreme Court has charged the persons who occupy or occupied and are culprits of corruption to be prosecuted. Whether now or then, I'm not sure what this is about, though. But let me go on to this one. It says, it appears that deleting ghost names from the YEA and government payrolls is the easiest thing successive governments can do. We, members of the Unemployed Teachers Association, want the Ministry of Education to explain why we should not picket at the ministry for the continuous ban on the recruitment of certified teachers. This is Al Hassan Bako. He's the president of the Unemployed Teachers Association. Good morning, Abna, and your panelists. The minority should stop the political game and think about the interests of the country. The former CEO of YEA left handing over notes indicating what they suspect and how far they have gone with it. He says YEA sent people to the ground to find out if the people were at their post, and to my surprise, the list of people who appeared on the sheet had never been seen on duty before. So let forces be joined to prosecute the people involved. You sign as Sami. My name is Abdullah from Lakeside Estate. He says, why is nobody talking about the Woyome issue anymore? Please, this is the reason why I voted for them and nothing is being done. Okay, well, I hope you hear something soon. Good morning, Abna. My name is Yahuza from Tamale. Well, I think I would, this is a personal issue, so I would just skip that. Please let the CEO, no. Please let the CEO know that we haven't been paid even the 2 months that they said they paid. Most of us haven't gotten anything. I'm not above the age bracket and not below 2. Please, I am not a ghost. Okay, you said your name is Robert Dindi. More rooms for NDC critics, but that will never allow NPP to stop taking over the post of CEOs from teaching hospitals. This is Osama in Sunyani Technical University. Let me take the last one here and says, NPP should stop complaining and work, because complaining will not take Ghana anywhere. Big ups Dr. Ahmed Jnapo and Dr. Clement Apak. That's Ankaruk Jason in Chuchuliga. I hope I got the name right. Chuchuliga. Okay, and the last one says, good morning, TV3. I'm really enjoying the discussions. That's Kinsley Owusu in UDS. Thank you so much for your messages. We'll continue here with the last topic for today. University of Education, Winneba. I'll go straight to Dr. Ahmed Jnapo. You're coming from the tell us. What is this whole back and forth about? What is happening there? Was there an injunction order? Was there not? What happened to the registrar? Everything. Let's have the load.
Well, let me start by indicating that I speak to this issue not as a spokesperson for the university, and it's very, very important.
That's fine. Yes.
Not as a spokesperson of the university, and everything that I say are my personal perspectives, and I'm extremely cautious because the case as it stands now
still pending before court. Exactly. So we're not going into the merits of this issue.
I think this whole issue has to do with the issue of a council that is supposedly expired, and I mean that's what is in court. So it's yet to be determined. That's the determination as to whether it was expired or not, and that is the bedrock of the whole case that we are looking at. Supposedly expired. So as a result, all activities that happened within that period were deemed to be illegal and hence needs to be nullified. And then
Okay, sorry.
No, that's
so that's what those are the beliefs the person seeking. But we are not going to go into those
but you see, regarding the issue of the closure, in fact, I'm happy that the university is reopened, because as somebody who works there, number one, I wasn't sure whether with the closure I was going to get my salary for the end of the month. Number two, I had a lot of calls. And we live in a competitive era where, as a university, as young as we are, I mean, we are just 25 years. We are struggling to compete with some established universities like University of Ghana, Cape Coast, and all those things. But I think these are difficult times for the university. As it stands now, the case is still in court. And I believe that the University of Education, Winneba, will come out stronger. It will come out stronger in the sense that as an institution, our ability to stand these tests will determine how strong we are as an institution. So, as I said, I don't want to get into the narrative of what happened, but what I understand now, I happened to be in court on Tuesday when the injunction or not injunction was placed. And I happened to
So what happened in court? What did the court grant
on Tuesday?
Yes.
On Tuesday, the court, it depends whether it's an advice or not. Because the judge did indicate that certain personalities should not go to their office till Friday. You understand what I'm saying? So as to whether that is an injunction or not an injunction, I don't know.
But then the university had a lawyer in court.
Yes, the university had a lawyer.
You had counsel.
But what happened after shows that I don't know what advice was given to the authorities of the university, but what happens after showed that the understanding and probably the advice or whatever was given to the university was that there was an injunction. Do you understand what I'm saying? There was an injunction. That was but be it as it may.
But the judge, when he came out to clarify that. And
what is even interesting is that after the case had finished, after the sitting for that period on Friday, the judge called one news gentleman, he's called, I think, CTFM, and asked him, what did you hear in court? And what the guy said was totally different from what had transpired. And the judge told her, you see what happens when you guys go out. 3 things happened. Number one, the capacity of this court to deal with the case has been challenged by the defendants. You understand what I'm saying? Number two, I've adjourned the case to 10th of July to give a ruling. And that is it. The school should go back and reopen. So that's what happened. So if you ask me my understanding of what is going on now, there's no injunction on the university and there's no injunction on any official, based on my understanding of what happened.
Are you sure?
That's my understanding. And
there's no injunction.
There's no injunction as it stands now.
Which raises questions about, Dr. Parker, I want you to take this, questions about the actions of the registrar, which was to order the closure of the school.
Registrar did not order the closure of the school.
Okay, so who did? Because that's what we have, that's the reports we have out there.
The registrar did not order the closure. Let me explain.
Yeah,
so yes, who did?
After the court on Tuesday, there was a meeting by deans, professors, heads of department, and that meeting was chaired by the registrar. And at that meeting, there was a consensus that because there has been an injunction, are you listening? Because there has been an injunction on the vice chancellor and principal officers, some principal officers who were appointed within the period of 2013 to 2015, then the university cannot run, because at the end of the day, if my dean...
But obviously, on hindsight, that was a wrong impression, because the court had made no such orders. Well, and I'm just asking this because, like, and that was why I went back to the fact that was the school represented in court by a lawyer? Because definitely, before you take any such action, you need to have recourse to that.
Can I make an interjection?
Quickly, then, yes, because I had the back on.
Let's assume that they left believing there was an injunction. Let's assume that they thought that they had been asked not to act. Then, the very meeting that declared the university closed was being done in contempt of court, in their opinion. Yes. You understand me? The registrar was part of the meeting. No, the registrar was not part of it. It was a meeting. The deans were part of the principal officers. My point is that they acted in a fit of pique. They were just angry and thought, if you say our appointment is null and void, then we'll shut the university down. I think that was wrong. Because if you thought there was an injunction on you,
yes,
how can you then have a meeting?
Yes, that point is well made. But what do you make of that action that came on the back of the Tuesday hearing in court?
Well, by and large, I think that the issue has now been given some clarity.
Clarity, exactly.
And I think moving forward, we want to wait and hear what the pronouncement on the major case is going to be. But I also come from that background, and I would have a difficulty holding myself up and performing my responsibilities with such a cloud indicating that my superiors, my dean, my head of department, my vice chancellor have no basis to engage.
But does that mean you quit?
But as a lecturer, you can't function.
I mean, how can you
function? That was the basis. That was the impression. That was the impression. That served as the basis for them to shut down. Yeah, because the system can run. It's almost like flying a plane and saying that the pilot shouldn't be in the cockpit.
But that wasn't what happened. But you see,
understand.
Subsequently,
but we've achieved clarity.
Okay, exactly.
So let's.
But even after the clarity was brought to bear, I heard on a radio station yesterday one lecturer saying that, well, they refused to go back to the lecture rooms or to duties because they don't have the right frame of mind. Again, citing what Dr. Park just said, that with that cloud hanging up there. And I'm asking the question, assuming there was even an injunction, it was against principal officers, not lecturers, so clearly, but indeed there was nothing like that. So Honorable Obiamwa,
yes,
what do you make of this whole thing? Yes. Again, and then with the recent development of the lecturers saying that they can't go because they don't have the right frame of mind. What is that? How do
this matter is in court.
Make sense of that?
Part of the whole thing is about misinformation and propaganda. Pure and simple. What has really happened? There was a council whose term expired in 2013. This council stayed on and on and on until a member of parliament brought the then Minister of Education to parliament to come and explain why a council whose term had expired was still in office. And that was in 2015. So the minister came, he couldn't much explain why it was so. The following day, a new council was inaugurated. 2 whole years, a council whose term had expired was running the place. Then an individual goes to court to say that by what has happened, with what authority were they operating after 2013 till 2015?
Let me just get you correct. So you're saying currently there's a new governing council in place?
Talking of 2013, 2015.
Yes, but you said
yes.
Right.
Yes. You understand?
So currently,
there's no even a council.
There's none.
There's no council.
Okay.
Yes.
There's no council for the university in Ghana.
This matter is sent to court, and then the plaintiff says that there should be an injunction on that council still operating, or the principal officers who came into being because of that council.
Yes.
You understand? And then the judge says, probably by granting this injunction, it means there's merit in what you're saying. So, as far as I'm concerned, the principal officers should hold on until this matter moves on. That is the implication of the injunction. That's the implication of the injunction. No, I'm coming. The university authorities, then by whatever means, go to hold a meeting and then come up to say that we lose everything down across the country. Because the university is not only in Winneba. Now they go back to court, and the judge is saying that I'm adjourning till 10th July or so. But meanwhile, make sure you don't do anything that will frustrate the injunction.
No.
Because there's let me read to you.
But the judge said there was no, he didn't order any injunction.
No, the injunction is that the principal officers are
should not. Right.
Let me read what they applied. They said we are seeking a declaration that the principal officers appointed by the defunct governing council should be restrained.
Sure.
That is what they asked for. And then they had the injunction. Now they go back.
So there was an injunction on Tuesday.
Yes, university goes back that they are raising a legal objection to it. The judge says, okay, I'll listen to you, but I'm adjourning to 10th July. In the meantime, don't do anything that will prejudice the outcome of the injunction.
Which is that the principal officer should be restrained from. Right.
Now from the political side, what I say is misinformation and propaganda is the fact that the lecturers and even students who have had their certificates, they all have the impression that if the plaintiff wins his case, then everything would have been nullified. It doesn't mean so. The new council can ratify whatever has gone on. It doesn't mean they can ratify the wrong things, but they can ratify the good things. Why are you panicking as if that if you win this case, a new council will not keep your promotion, but will nullify your promotion? That is the propaganda and the misinformation that they are going through.
About the politics as well. There are political
but Mr. Jackson,
that council by 2013 did not have the legal right to exist.
But that's yet to be determined, really.
Because it's the minister came to admit it.
That's before the court. That's yes. But Mr. Jackson
very quick
needs to come in here. Let me, because he hasn't had this yet.
Okay, he hasn't had it.
No, he made
he says he's not a spokesman.
Let me say something.
Yes, quickly.
First of all, I like to say that I'm a native of Winneba, so I'm concerned about this issue. But think about it. Somebody goes to court. Whatever it is, the court processes are ongoing. And we should not allow and the court, I've never heard anything that says
Mr. Jackson, can you hold on to your thoughts? We need to listen to Mr. Afenyomakin, the lawyer for the plaintiff. He's on the line. Okay, very well. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Honorable. How are you doing this morning? And thanks for joining us.
I am fine. Thanks for having me on, and good morning to all your guests there.
Great. Unfortunately, we don't have much time, so kindly go straight to it. What exactly do you have to tell us in respect of this conversation?
Well, simply put, I'm not the counsel on record.
Okay.
I only held a brief of the counsel in the matter.
Okay. So who is the counsel then?
Well, the counsel on record is Mr. Oni.
Okay. I
held his brief.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well.
Now, what I have listened to Dr. Park and my good friend, Dr. Jinapo, whom we've had engagement on this matter for many months. The point clearly is that in the event that the court finds that those decisions that were taken as is being prayed ought to be annulled, all that would be done in respect of certain appointments regarding the lecturers, their deanship and whatnot, would be to subject the recommendations of the academic board to ratification of the new council that will be inaugurated.
Right.
And this will not affect them in any way.
Right.
I expect that people read exactly the processes filed, the prayer, and not to allow political judgment to cloud the objective judgment of the matter, and not to act in a manner to prejudice or to create a stir or to threaten the system that we all agree that where there is a concern, we should go there for matters to be resolved. It's a simple matter. And I don't think politics would resolve it. Dr. Park is doctor because a regularly constituted body awarded him a certificate. If today that body is seen as having acted in excess of its mandate, he wouldn't be doctor. So if a citizen of Ghana is taking steps to get that resolved, so that if the court upholds those prayers, it will be ratified for them to be free, they should rather.
Very well, Honorable Afenyomakin. Yes.
On the student.
Sure.
The 2 years that irregularly constituted body awarded them certificate. The issue is that when the court finds that indeed they didn't have such mandate, of course their studies, their academic records are valid. All that will be done would be to subject them to ratification.
Very well.
That is all.
Very well. We thank you for that. For that intervention, we thank you. We don't have much time, unfortunately, Honorable. But thank you so much for that. It was very useful, that intervention, very useful. Thank you so much, Honorable. We need to, yes. Briefly, we've run out of time, yes.
There's no university in this country. Government university.
Which is a very important issue.
Which has a council. So are you telling me that whatever has been happening from January till now, it's null and void?
That's why the explanation is coming in.
Whatever has been from January till now.
But that's fine. Mr. Jackson, last year, there we go.
What is the selective this?
Jeremy, please allow us.
Let's
your PhD will still be PhD.
I didn't get it from Ghana. I got it from the US. What the submission was is that when the proper council is in place, they can ratify
exactly.
What I don't like about this,
there was a council after 2015, though.
Is that
there was a council after 2015?
Hello,
very well. I mean, we need to wrap up here.
What I don't like is that you see, the deans and the registrar and those in place shouldn't hold the whole university to run.
They never held the university.
But thank you. Let me say, thank you so much. Thank you to gentlemen. Take it easy. Thank you to you for sending in your messages. We do appreciate that. But also thank you to the panelists, Honorable Obi Amwa, Mr. Jackson, Dr. Ahmed Napo, and Honorable Dr. Clement Apak. We'll be back here same time next week. Do have yourself a very good weekend. Bye bye. Okay.